Internet. So the GM's gone missing. He got his operator squad together to go put a hit out on some ICE agents, and we wish him well. But session's canceled.
Whoa, hey, internet anonymity is about to disappear. I don't know if you should be saying that.
I didn't say any names. I said on some ICE agents.
I don't know. That seems dangerous.
No names.
I suppose.
Listen,
playing a dangerous game, son.
The GM concept here is an amorphous person who doesn't actually exist, so we're okay. Sorry, breaking the illusion for everyone. The GM we're always referencing doesn't exist. That's crazy, I know.
When they do exist, it's usually me or him.
If that person, yes, sometimes we do reference actual events, and usually that's just referencing something we actually did. Sometimes. It depends on the scenario. We're back, though. We're back to the cyberpunk dystopian future, which is every day inching closer to reality.
Yep.
Every day.
Yep.
But you know what? You know what the most disappointing part about it is?
What?
I don't even get a cool fucking robot arm out of the situation.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Like, what the fuck, dude? I get the mega corporates and the fascist governments and the no money, but I can't at least get a 6 cyber arm out of this shit and like a fucking cool gun. The fuck, dude?
Mm-hmm.
Where's my fucking cyber arm, man? Can we throw me a bone, dude? It doesn't even have to be a good one. I just want a cool one, like aesthetically cool. It could be a piece of shit. It's fucked up. Also, I'm just gonna do something I forgot to do. Isaiah, if you could just vamp for time, bro.
Vamp for time. Okay, yeah, I mean, so if you want to fight off the dystopian future, you absolutely should be contacting your senators and all those people, because this shit's going to become a reality if you don't do something about it. I've done my part, and I've been telling everybody else to do it.
That was not what I was expecting.
I didn't know what else to do, motherfucker. We're kind of, this has been the cause of my depression for weeks now.
I don't know, but that was not what I expected you to jump down.
I'm sorry.
I was kind of expecting
anyway,
you.
So
I was kind of expecting for like a segue to be like, you could fight off the dystopian future by hitting subscribe or something.
I mean, yes, you should do that. You should hit subscribe.
You should also do that. Yeah, you can hit subscribe real quick, before. Listen, at least get our funny number up before we all get thrown in the gulag,
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Right? I feel like that's an okay compromise. Not really, but
No, not at all. But,
Not really, but I'll take it when I can get. All right. We're back to Cities Without Number. Part 2. It's the GM side of the game. I wasn't initially planning on doing this, but because the GMing side of this game is quite a bit changed up from Stars and Worlds, I was kind of like, all right, it's worth doing another part, its own separate part on it. It is funny that, it doesn't really matter, I guess, but I do find it funny that the game does not actively tell you when you've gone from like player side rules to GM side rules, but there clearly is a delineation in the book. Just like doesn't make a point of pointing it out.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It goes right from hacking into creating a dystopia.
Yeah. It goes from hacking and then creating your dystopia, which is like that's the delineation from the player point to the GM point in the book, and it's actually pretty close to halfway through. Yeah, I don't know. It just seems, I don't know. You could just mention like you entering the GM section of the book or something. It may say it somewhere buried in the text, like if you're a player, you only need to read up to this point or something. That may be said somewhere. I'm not sure. But either way, it's Cities Without Number. It's the cyberpunk fucking Without Number game by Mr. Kevin Crawford. I don't have a segue. We're gonna do. So it opens with creating your dystopia, or the GM half of the book, as we just established, opens with creating your dystopia. So, this chapter opens and gives you a brief explanation of like, what to do, how to do it, like very high level overview type stuff. But the one thing I want to take note of on the first page, I just thought was a nice touch, is the game specifically tells you if you already know what kind of setting you want to play in, jump to page 142 and start building adventures for your game. I just like that it told you like, hey, if you already have an idea, go to this page. It's just nice. It's just nice to be like, you could skip all this crap if you don't need it. Like, yes, thank you. It's not absolutely vital, but it's just a nice little thing when you see it.
Mm-hmm.
So, so then we get into the principles of creation, which is just outlining advice, as with the other games, and telling you don't pre-plan the story so much, only plan one session ahead, stop preparing if you're not having fun. There's a lot, there's a lot. It gives you some broad overview advice. This game makes it reiterates the point over and over and over again. You only need to plan one session ahead. This game, like Cities Without Number, even more than Stars and Worlds, really hammers home. You only need to prep one session ahead of what the players are doing. Just build the train tracks in front of you as you go. And I like that he emphasizes that over and over again, because I think it's an acknowledgement that running a cyberpunk game comes with a lot of added complications, because planning missions, like a mission, you have like a quest in a fantasy game, or like an objective or an adventure in your sci-fi game. There's a certain degree of work, but a mission in a cyberpunk game entails a lot of minute detail. You gotta have stuff for the hacker to do, and you gotta have stuff for the infiltration guy to do, and you gotta have stuff for the guy who's good with the guns, and you gotta have something for the guy who likes to use his swords. There's a lot of elements to designing a cyberpunk mission in a tabletop game so that it feels on genre, right? It needs to feel genre appropriate. Your mission's not going to be like
save the princess from the dragon.
Yeah, like you're not saving the girl from the burning building, really. It's going to be like break into this guy's corpo, break into this building, steal all their data, kidnap a dude, So it's got to feel on genre, and then it also has to be complicated. Like you almost can't make a mission simple in the cyberpunk genre, because that defeats the point of, or not the point, but it defeats the purpose of having the characters be the way they are, which is to say that cyberpunk operators, your edge runners or your shadow runners or whatever your particular fiction, your net runners, whatever your fiction calls them. In this game, operators. Your operators are like highly specialized individuals. So the idea is they're really fucking good at like crazy jobs. So it'd be very disappointing if it was just the mission was like kick the door in and shoot everybody and that's it, So there's this element.
That is, I was gonna say, that is something that I typically, I've said this before on recording, I find, for me personally, settings with modern aesthetics to be easier to prepare for than something medieval, right? This is the benefit of running your powered by the apocalypse, but your World of Darkness, right? Like, it's in the real world, what the real world has. That being said, it can be a pain in the ass to be like, okay, so I have to think about how the hacker is going to deal with this bullshit. And yes, you have to do this with spellcasters, but there's like a certain whimsy when it comes to spell casting in games like D&D, because it can do kind of anything. So you can just go, all right, I'm just going to throw something at them and see how they deal with it. But like, if you have to go into like an abandoned warehouse with no electronics, your hacker's fucking useless. Yeah, so you got to do something. You got to throw them some kind of bone.
Yeah, because you don't want the hacker player to be sitting there with their thumb up their ass, right? Like that's not fun. So yeah, it all this is to say the game makes a very it reiterates the point a lot. Only prep one session ahead, and I think that is Kevin Crawford acknowledging that the genre itself can be a little stressful to prep missions and shit for, which is why he's saying only prep what you immediately need. Now, granted, you can apply that rule, I think, to basically any game, but he emphasizes it for this game. So, all that being said, we move on. He gives you some a very basically the way the book is organized. It starts from like broad to specific. So these first couple of chapters are very broad level shit. So he explains after the principles of creation, which is to say like how you should go about thinking and making stuff for the game. It gives you a breakdown of the structure of how it informs you to structure your setting on levels, going from the broader to the more specific. So you work down from the world level to the city level to the district level, each of those levels as you go down having greater relevance to your operators.
So I like the way that this was done. Sorry, I just want to jump in because I feel like you're going. I do like the way this is done. It's not typically how I do my world building, but if there was a way you were going to describe it to someone, like, this would probably be it. This is pretty much what Fabulous says too, right? Like, start super broad and then work your way in. I don't think I've ever done that. I always go, what's this really niche part of world building that I like? Okay, that's my start point, and I'll just build out from that.
Well, you can work the other way, right? You could work from... Because essentially what Cities Without Number is saying, start at the level of furthest, like least relevance to the players, and then work your way down to most relevant, right? That's essentially what the game is getting at. You can do it the opposite way, where you start in the smallest area of relevance to the players and build out. The only thing is you have to, if you do it the other way where you start smallest, that generally means you're doing the hardest prepping stuff a little more front loaded, which means you're in a position where you're probably not going to do quite as much of it right out the gate. So you need to make sure your players are not going to move beyond your zone of influence, right? Which is to say, if you're running a fantasy game and you start with the town that the players are currently in and like the immediate area around the town, that's fine as long as you know for a fact they are not going to leave that town immediately. Like, I have some leeway in terms of, or not leeway, but I know they're going to be in this area, so I only need to worry about this area. As soon as they move out beyond that, potentially that could be a problem. Cities Without Number and the other Without Number games are explicitly designed to be run as a sandbox, which means you have no safety net to assume where the players are going to stay.
Right, and so that is something worth thinking about. The fact that the game does expect things to go in tandem directions, where things like Lancer and Hellscapes do not as much.
Don't. Yes.
Although Hellscapes tries to be a sandbox, but is not.
Yeah, I mean, 5e likes to pretend like you could sandbox it up in that game too, but I would say that's a tall order for 5e also. Yeah,
I think games that use the D&D 5e systems are really good at low level for sandbox play, but a meta plot sort of has to take place at some point.
At some point, yes, I think. Yes, I could get into I have some game theory about why D&D always ends up on this like meta level plot shit, but we won't get down that rabbit hole right now.
Well, I mean, I think the simplest answer is you can't be expected to be doing your 9th level spells against goblin hordes every 2 minutes. Like,
yeah, I mean, that's a very simplified way of putting it, but yes, that's basically what I was getting at. Yeah. So yes, the game cities tells you go from the world to the city to the districts. And the idea is like the world is kind of least relevant. The city obviously is more relevant because they live in the city. And then the district is the most relevant thing because that is their literal, like, neighborhood. Then we get a page on cyberpunk themes. This is just a long list of the author's opinions about what kind of themes are relevant and come up in the cyberpunk genre, such as alienation, commoditization, dehumanizing, despair, escapism, meat. One of them's just called meat.
Yes. I like that one because it's not at all what you think it would mean.
No, for all 80s style cyberpunk dedications to VR avatars and digital hacking, most of the world operates on the principle of tangible flesh. Robots are for industrial work, not daily labor, and automation is not something that touches common life for most people. Jobs are done by people, not apps. It's basically saying that cyberpunk is not as Wi-Fi and automated as our actual world is, because part of the conceit of sci-fi is that everyone is protecting, or part of the conceit of the cyberpunk genre is that everyone is protecting their own little bubble. So you can't have, everything can't be Wi-Fi and automated because hackers are all over the place and trying to steal everybody's shit. And like, so every little building and corporation has their own little protected area. They, it's part of the aesthetic and shit. Now, granted, a lot of that aesthetic comes from the fact it was made in the 80s, so we didn't have things like Wi-Fi. So writers like Neuromancer. Neuromancer author.
Oh, I don't remember.
William Gibson. Jesus.
Yes.
Authors like William Gibson didn't necessarily conceive of an idea like Wi-Fi. Either way, point being, there's that hardwired concrete, people doing shitty jobs kind of aesthetic that cyberpunk has. And Kevin Crawford titled that one Meat. One of them is also just sex.
Yes.
Which is pretty funny. And violence. Anything that would make a good devil in Chainsaw Man, it's probably on this list.
What an interesting way to think about it. You're not wrong.
I know I'm not wrong. That's why I said it. All right, so creating your world. As with every without number game, Cities presents you a step-by-step guide on how to build your world and your city and your this and that, how to build all sorts of shit, right? How to make the sandbox. So it starts with outlining how to outline your world level on your world level of your world, your world level of your setting, I should say, your world level of your dystopia, I guess.
The world level of your
world
setting.
Level of your dystopian setting. So it tells you to figure out a date/time frame. You don't need to be hyper specific, but the idea is that it's 2077 or whatever, or 20XX or something like that. Then you should identify global problems, which is what it sounds like. What are the major problems of the world? There is a table to roll on for that. You have such things as balkanization, class warfare, climate change, despair, famine, natural disaster, plague, the usual fun things.
Yep.
Then you want to have regional focus, which is to say what major problems exist for the region that your game is set in. So like you have world problems like, I don't know, maybe famine for like the whole planet is like low on food. Then your region would be like the northeastern United States. What's going on in that particular area? Then you want to figure out your governmental superpowers, which could come in a lot of different flavors. It does mention that one of the things it says is you might have rolled the certainty of a global hegemon, or you might have found that your world is hopelessly balkanized, which is to say just smashed up into a bunch of little tiny nations all over the place. Thought that was just a funny one to call out.
It is such a clearly, right, it's talking about the Balkan nations, but like it is wild
balkanized is a word.
Right, but it's named after like what happened to the Balkans, where they like the infrastructure.
Is it that,
collapsed.
or is it the other way around?
No, it's the oh god, what's it called?
The word was after the people, the place?
Yes, the place, because that's what happened. It was one country that like collapsed.
Yeah, I know about the Balkan country. I know about that. Yeah. I just wasn't sure which direction that etymology was going in.
You know what? I'm gonna double check because now I don't want to sound stupid on air.
I don't actually know.
Yeah. Term originates from the historical fragmentation of the Balkan Peninsula of Europe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Had a feeling.
And then your last step on your world level creation is 5 major mega corporations. This is probably the most important step on the world level creation stuff because it's cyberpunk. You have to have megacorps.
Right.
Which, again, yeah, totally very fantasy and not something that actually happens.
Yeah.
Mega corporations, very silly.
Yeah, look, I mean, who else would you
At this point, I might just start running a cyberpunk game and have the corps just be fucking Walmart and the Koch brothers and shit. Like, I just might not even rename them anymore.
Bro.
At this point,
you so I was gonna say,
be like
so valid for that.
Girl, you so valid. Like, be like, oh, who's the evil megacorp you guys are doing a mission against right now? It's fucking oh god, what's the I just blanked on the name. God damn it. The military company.
Oh, Lockheed Martin.
Yeah, it's just Lockheed Martin. Yeah. Like Cyberpunk Lockheed Martin? No, it's just Lockheed Martin.
It's just Lockheed Martin.
Yeah,
did you see
straight up?
Oh, you're not caught up on Chainsaw Man.
Definitely not, no.
There are some theories that maybe the main character of part 2, the deuteragonist of part 2, she has like a mark on her face that is suspiciously close to the Lockheed Martin logo.
Oh, and no.
She is the War Devil.
Oh my god.
And that's not spoiler. That's like literally the first chapter. It's like, hi, how's it going? I'm the War Devil. I bet you're wondering how I got here.
I would assume she's really fuck off powerful given the rules of Chainsaw Man, yeah?
Well, spoilers, I guess. She
turned
maybe don't. The entire Gun Devil into a gauntlet and then blew somebody to fucking smithereens.
All right.
As you do.
So, yes, just really fuck off powerful.
Yeah, fun fact, America reinvented nukes despite universal fuckery, and she was like, God, I love America. Of course, you rewrote reality so you could have fucking nukes.
Oh my god. Anyway. So, now I have to find where I was in my notes. Please hold.
Sorry.
Okay. So yes, establish your big 5 mega corporations. You could do more than 5, obviously, but the game is like, recommends at least 5. And also pick a different country for each of them to have a strong, the German megacorp, the American megacorp, the Japan megacorp, so on and so forth. Your Renraku Red Samurai and whatnot. Is Renraku Shadowrun or Cyberpunk?
Renraku is Shadowrun.
Isn't that's Shadowrun, right? Yeah, the Renraku Red Samurai.
Yeah, because in Cyberpunk it's Arasaka.
That's right. I constantly take the megacorps in Shadowrun and the megacorps in Cyberpunk. I just mush them together. I can never remember which ones are from which.
That's valid.
Yeah, Renraku's sick. I do remember that there's a megacorp in Shadowrun run by a dragon named Lofear, so that's pretty hype.
Yes. Okay. So the same guy.
It's fucking just Saderkrupp. Yeah. The German megacorp Saderkrupp.
The guy I watched for all my World of Darkness videos did a Shadowrun anthology a while back, so I was learning a lot about Shadowrun.
Yeah. The dragons are cool. There's a lot of dragons.
Yes.
And yes, there's a lot of dragons.
Every video.
A lot of them just run like businesses and shit.
A lot of the videos for his Shadowrun is him like talking about a thing and then going, but wait, it gets crazier.
Yeah.
That's not all. It gets weirder.
Shadowrun gets wild. I mean, I remember when I explained goblinization to, I think it was you and Matt, and you were like, "Goblin, what now?"
Well, so he literally was like, and then the goblins showed up, and that was a clusterfuck.
Goblinization, because you're not born an orc or a troll, you turn into one when you hit puberty.
Yep.
And it's fucking awful.
Sounds terrible, doesn't it? Imagine getting so boned in your genetic lineage that, you know, rather than hitting puberty like most other people, you just get small.
You turn into a troll.
And gremlin-y.
Well, no, goblins are not. Goblinization is the term for the disease that turns you into an orc or a troll. They're not goblins in the sense that you are thinking of. They're not little green dudes. They actually get bigger.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if goblins. I don't know if
goblins as we know them they do exist.
I don't think they do. Hold on. Oh, they do. Goblins are a goblin is a dwarf infected with the HMHVV virus. It is one of the many variants. There's a virus called the human meta. Yeah,
it's a vampiric thing.
Yeah, so there's the human metahuman vampiric virus, which is a disease that affects people and turns them into basically they didn't have a lot of the old school monsters, so the human metahuman vampiric virus is a way to justify it. So like if a human gets it, they become a vampire. If an elf gets it, they become a banshee. If a dwarf gets it, they become a goblin. If an orc gets it, they become a wendigo. And then like a troll can be like a Sasquatch or something like that. Yeah. So what goblins are dwarves with a virus.
So they're just Nosferatu then.
Kinda. Sort of. But not exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah. The human metahuman vampiric virus is like a whole thing. It's like a major setting plot point thing. I think it was also a pretty relevant. Sasquatch becomes a Jabberwocky.
What?
Yeah.
Now we say we're so off topic. When you say a Jabberwocky, does it have the same bullshit abilities as a Jabberwocky?
I don't think so. I don't really know what the context on Jabberwocky are in Shadowrun. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure the virus was humans can also become loup-garoos, which is to say werewolves. I think it was like a pretty major plot point in the novels I read, but I don't remember. Anyway. So yes, goblinizing doesn't make goblins. Dwarfs with the funny vampire virus make goblins. Do with that what you will. Anyway, we can do this. We can get back out.
I believe us. I believe in us. But
I am very low level in my knowledge of Shadowrun, but the stuff I do know I could yap about for a while with Shadowrun, because there is a lot of fun, stupid shit in Shadowrun that I love.
That's me with World of Darkness. You're just like, so this thing happened. And you're like, what? It's like whenever I tell people like, like the leader of the vampires in World of Darkness, Kane, he's actually he's just a taxi driver. He's just a cab driver in LA. He just vibes. He's just here for the vibes. Vibing.
Not up to anything important.
No.
So, after you come up with all your world stuff, the game then suggests that you write out a brief history of your world setting, with a list of questions that the game provides to guide you along. When I say brief history or like a history of your world, I emphasis on brief. It's like a couple of sentence or small paragraph answers to a few questions to just give you a very general timeline of how you got from like now to, dystopian future, whatever thing. And then then you wrap that all up, you put a little bow on it, and then there's the table on the next page of all the world problems, which I mentioned. And then we get into then we go one level down and you get into creating a city. So first things first, you can either use an existing real world city that everybody already knows, which is say, we all live in California, so we're going to set it in LA. Or You could make it in a city that no one is familiar with, which is to say everybody lives in LA. We're going to play this game in New York City. The pros and cons there being, if everybody knows the city, you as the GM could be like, oh, you go down this street in this spot. And the player's like, oh, I know where that is. Con being you mentioned something that's not actually there, such as Manhattan doesn't have...
Manhattan doesn't have alleyways?
Alleyways.
I wanted to say it so bad.
Such as Manhattan doesn't have alleyways. Which again, just to be clear, I know that. I'm aware. Really didn't matter.
Dog, I'm sorry. It's just so funny.
Bad. So bad.
Anyway. There's no universe where I'm not smacking the shit out of that player.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh God.
And then the pros and cons of a city far away is like nobody's that familiar with the city, but if you as the GM fuck something up for that city, nobody can cite your sources. Or if they want, they could fact check you, but it's a lot more work for them to fact check you than the city that they live in, And then obviously the third option, but the hardest option, is just make a city entirely from whole cloth. I don't see myself ever going with that option personally.
Oh, really? So because that's the one I would do more than likely.
I don't think I would do that. I think I would do where, it's New York City, but we're going to adjust. Like we're going to mess with it a little bit, Fair, because you do get the fun bit where you get to hashtag do it to actual corpos in the real world that you might despise in actuality. Like certain real estate moguls turned politicians. Yeah, exactly. Or you could just be like, oh, hey, the mission is in Hell's Kitchen. And then someone's like, oh, I know where that is. Or like, oh, we got to go to Flushing's Queens. And you're like, oh, sick. We're going to get some hot pot while we're there. There's.
I can't believe you remember that fucking hot pot place.
What do you mean, remember the hot pot place? I remember going and getting hot pot. Yeah. I don't
yeah, that's the hot pot place we went with Moogie for her birthday.
Yeah. I was just referencing that there are hot pot places in that area. I wasn't necessarily referencing
fair
that
enough.
specific.
I thought you were like, because I hardly remember that fucking hot pot place, frankly.
I mean, I remember that we went. I don't remember too much about it or where it is exactly.
I remember one of our friends spilled something on my brand new Perry Ellis shirt, and I was going to strangle somebody to death in the restaurant. I don't remember who it was, though.
I don't remember who it was either. Yeah, so those are your three, like, how to generate a city method. Then the game says you want to establish at least two major problems with the city to get the turmoil rolling. There is, of course, an accompanying table for you to roll on to determine city problems because it's a without numbers game. There's a lot of fucking tables. Mm-hmm. That's not a complaint, by the way. That's just an acknowledgement.
No, I mean, look, I'm not saying it's great either, but fact of the matter is, there are quite a few tables.
Then he gives you some general advice on establishing your map of the city, which is you could steal an existing map or take a couple so like just steal an existing map as is. So just be like, oh, we're just going to take the map of Manhattan, or take a couple of existing maps of real cities and like smash them together and schmork them together and make a weird amalgam city. Or just fucking sketch out a terrain map of some kind. And then once obviously you've got the cities down, you want to map out your districts. You can think of the districts are going to be the most important element of the city, as they are kind of the zones of action that the PCs are going to exist in and do shit in. Like they're going to get a mission and you're going to be like, all right, players, you got to go to District A to, burn down X, Y, and Z corpo building. So burn down the Walmart. So, you want to think about the districts a little bit more. Then obviously once you have once you have all that down, we need some enemies. So you need to establish what corporations exist in the city. Because, you could have established your 5 major corporations, but maybe you want to make a couple smaller ones, or maybe you want to make subsidiaries, or maybe that's that corporation operates in the city. If you're in Manhattan and there's fucking Nintendo operates in Manhattan in some capacity, so you could have a Nintendo building. I'm just not going to make up names anymore. I'm just going to use real corporations. Your corpos are, like your evil wizards and your fantasy dragons and shit in a fantasy game, right? So like it's very important you have the corpos established, because it's the shit you're going to be fighting most of the time. Not always, but most of the time. There is a table to help you generate corporations. Then the game specifically recommends, and this goes back to only prepping what you need for the immediate session, give a little extra love and attention to your starting district specifically. So whatever area the players are going to start in, make sure you really flesh that one out. Because that's where the most of the initial shit's going to happen. And it might be where your players live or whatever. There's a plethora of reasons. Then you got to do your first adventure. So the game recommends keeping your first adventure to 1 session's worth of time. As most GMs know, that's probably not going to happen.
I was going to say, I can't believe they have attacked me personally.
Yeah, you could try, though. You should try. It's probably not going to happen, but you should fucking try. Then the game tells you, I put recommends. I wouldn't even call this a recommendation. I would say this is a rule. The game tells you, after they finish their first job, give the players 5 potential adventure hooks for them to pick on their next mission. This is especially, so that might sound like a lot, but the game gives you an entire system on how to design those adventure hooks. And notice I said adventure hooks.
Right. You don't have to write the entire
Not
adventure.
5 missions. 5 ideas that, depending on which one the players choose, you flesh out that one. This is really important for a sandbox game, because you don't want things to go to get to a floundering standstill because the players don't know where to go. So the game makes a really specific point that every time you finish a mission, don't let your players off the hook until they tell you what the next mission they're going to do is, or what their next action is in some capacity. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, actually, I really love that. I like that they specifically call that out, because that is the worst shit, where it's like, okay, we're done.
Yeah.
And you go, wait, no. I'm saying this because I had to do this, where players are like, oh, we're heading off for them. Like, don't you fucking dare. What are you doing next time? So I need to know.
Yes. The game is very firm, don't let them off the hook until they tell you what mission they're going to do, because you gave them 5 adventure hooks. They picked one of those hooks. Those hooks are not missions yet. They're just hooks. Once they pick a hook, okay, I will make it a mission now. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Now, this also doesn't have to happen at the end of the session, right? It could be in text or whatever, or if you're chatting, playing video games the day after, you're gonna be like, all right, what mission are you guys gonna go with, by the way? But the point is, don't let them off the hook. They need to give you something. Yeah, especially because, again, it's a sandbox game. If they don't decide where they're gonna go in the sandbox, then you can't get the sandbox ready.
Right.
Then
you show up to next session and everyone feels stupid.
Yeah, and then you all just sit there looking at each other. All right, so we got your city. That's the basic level of setting up your city. Again, I'm giving you a broad overview, but there is plenty of detail in the book to be had. Don't worry. If this sounds like intimidating shit, the book has got you. I promise. That is honestly. Perhaps me and Isaiah will disagree on this one, because we have differing opinions on Kevin Crawford's writing methodology. But I will say, reading through the GM part of this game, made me like juiced me up to make me want to run the game, you know, like once you get into because Kevin Crawford is quite good at breaking down how to do a lot of this GMing work and telling you how to do it in a very clear, concise way and with good, clear, concise steps. And him presenting it in that fashion makes me want to run it because it makes it seem so much easier when you make it clear and concise and have steps to it and everything. The funny thing is, most of the shit that he says in these books is shit I already know, but the book just laying it out for me just makes it that much easier. You know, like I could already probably assume and would probably do most of what he's saying anyway, but it just makes me feel good to know that Daddy Game has my hand, you know, is helping me out there.
Right. So what I'll say is this. I definitely reading this chunk, and I did a lot of skimming, as I have to do with these games. But even in the very quick reading that I did do, for sure, no, I mean, I definitely had the juices flow, and I was thinking about how to run or how I would build out the world to the region, to the city, down to the district. I was like, oh, I'd like if I named it this. Right. I can't remember what they call the district in when you play as a street kid in Cyberpunk, the like Hispanic district. I was like, oh, I want to do that with like have the cool gangster priest man.
Yeah. Yeah. He just, I don't know. He puts it out in a clear, concise way that gets the juices flowing in some fashion.
I was jokingly going to say, take a shot every time there's a list for something, but then I would be like, no, you're going to die. You're not going to live through that.
Yes, you would not live through that. There's a lot of lists.
A lot of tables, yeah.
A lot of lists, a lot of tables. But that's because that's secretly, that's a lot of what GMing is.
Yeah.
Lists and tables.
Yeah.
And then you take the things from the list and you connect them together.
Really, where's the lie? Like,
yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. So now we get to building your district. Districts with an S. Districts. So this chapter is about guiding you through setting your districts. You want to start off with deciding 2 notable traits to a district, with an accompanying 50 entry table to help you decide on those traits and or roll for those traits. But basically you want to smash 2 traits together to make the district, unique in some fashion. Couple of examples we got. It's corrupt kingpin and religious center. 2 traits. So you got like a kingpin dude who's running things, and there's a major religious center in the district. There's a couple of entries on this table that I'm like, I'm not sure I know what you mean by that.
Oh, which one specifically?
Now you're putting me on the spot. Or not, I guess I shouldn't say I don't know what you mean. There's a couple of them where I'm like, I don't know what to do with that necessarily. Like one of them says secessionist. I'm like, what do I do with secessionists? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like one's organ leggers, but actually I can think of some things with that one. I don't know. There's a couple of them where I'm like, that's just, I don't know, that's something, I guess. Then once you obviously have your traits, you want to figure out your local government. The game basically tells you to set up a couple of local government NPCs. I think it recommends 3. And it calls out very specifically, do not assign these NPCs a job. So like come up with the local government NPCs, but do not say what kind of position they have. Instead, when the players need to talk to a guy who's in the, banking department or whatever, you scoop one of those NPCs from that list. So like they don't have a job until you need them to have a job.
I kind of like that though. That's kind of how. So funnily enough, that's how I did the Monster Hearts game I ran, because I had, like I said, I used all the NPCs for my Lancer game because it's just a Lancer AU. And I literally was like, oh, well, I have this list of over 100 NPCs.
Yeah.
And I just sort of put them in where I like, the handlers I turned into teachers or staff, the Albatross who are like the space police. I made the police department. Like there's a lot of fun stuff I was able to pull off.
Granted, 100 is, probably more than you need, but yeah.
Right. Yes. I mean, definitely more than I need. But if I had them, I might as well use them.
If I got them. Then after your local government, you need your local ne'er-do-wells, obviously. So you want to figure out your 3 local gangs / criminal organizations. They don't like have to be a gang, but it's cyberpunk. They're basically a gang.
They're gangs.
Yeah. Then you want to figure out which major corporations that you've already defined for your city are messing with this district. You've generated 4 or 5 corporations, so pick 1 or 2 of them. Actually, pick at least 2 of them, it says, to be operating in this district specifically. So perhaps, there's a Walmart in the district. It could be as simple as that. There's the Walmart Megacorp, and then there's the Walmart in this district. I don't know why I'm bullying Walmart so much today. I'm just, something.
Nah, fuck Walmart.
I mean,
Nah, look, reading this game turned me into an anarchist. Fuck Walmart.
You needed the game to do that?
No.
Yeah.
No, it just manifested a lot of my.
It brings it to the front of your mind.
Sociological rage with society.
Yeah. Yep.
And look at this book. I was like, burn it all down.
Burn it to the ground. Give me my cool robot arms.
As I'm reading, fucking Johnny Silverhand's song "Rebel Path" starts playing. Like the banana.
Yep. Then obviously, so you've got your local corporations. Then you need some local fixers. Your Mr. Johnson to set up your players with some gigs. The game recommends making at least 3 Mr. Johnsons. I shouldn't say 3 fixers. Mr. Johnson's a Shadowrun term, but 3 fixers.
Oh, okay. I was like, are you making a Mr. Anderson joke? Like, I don't know what this is.
No. So Mr. Johnson is what fixers are referred to as in Shadowrun because the idea is they don't give their real name. So they're all just Mr. Johnson. Yeah.
I feel like I'd have to make the joke that they're all just called Mr. Anderson.
I mean, you could, I suppose, yes.
Did you haven't played Cyberpunk, right?
The video game? No.
No. Okay. So my favorite fixer is the little Chinese lady, Wakako. I don't know if she's Chinese. She might be Japanese. But yeah, she's named Wakako, and she's just this like really nice elderly Chinese lady. And then she gets mad, and she was like, I believe she goes, "If you betray me, V, I'll pop a cap in your ass." And you're like, "Oh no, she's a Black Lagoon character."
Hey, yo.
Yeah, I was like, and like V's like, "I know, Wako, I love you too." And she's like, when she's like, "Oh, come by next week for tea and mahjong." Like,
nice.
This character's great. I love everything about her.
I love this lady. So yes, definitely make your fixers and make them fun. It also recommends when you make your 3 fixers to have each of them specialize in a different kind of like gig. Like this particular fixer knows about all of the robbery jobs, whereas this fixer knows all the jobs that need like a major hacker type, aspect to the team or whatever, that kind of vibe. And then lastly, sketch up the district and slap a name on that bitch. As you might imagine, did he give a district name generator? I don't remember. Hold on. I'm actually. No, that one he actually didn't have a table for, hilariously.
Yeah, no.
Which is surprising, actually.
Hmm.
Did he say? Where is it? Yeah. He just gives you some general advice on how to think about the name. Then creating your megacorps, which I feel like this one arguably the most fun. Again, you could just steal real ones and just skip all this.
So what's funny? It could be the most fun, but it could also be the most rage-inducing because then you'll start thinking about the real world.
Thinking about it too much, yeah.
And then you're like,
yeah.
Then you just start proxying all your problems into the tabletop game.
I remember I was actually watching a Cyberpunk actual play, and one of the corporations was Alphabet Bezos, and it was what if Alphabet and Amazon merged?
Ooh,
Hey.
Oh, that make me angry.
Yep. Anyway, so we need to come up with corporations, because your megacorps will serve many elements of the game, right? They can be enemies, they can be allies, they can be patrons, they can be setting movers, they could be all of the above. You know, megacorps are going to be doing all sorts of shit in a Cyberpunk game. Sometimes it's a Cyberpunk game. You'll take a job from them, and then the next mission you'll do a job to fuck them over. That's how it goes.
It is. You know what's funny is I have that exact thing going on in my Lancer game, and my players are always like, "Oh no, we can't do a job," or like they'll fuck someone over and go like, "Oh no, we can't trust that faction anymore. They're gonna betray us." And it's like, they really won't though, right? Because the fixer that hired you, like, yes, you fucked them over, but they're all aware that this is about a payday. Like, fixers aren't taking this shit seriously. It's transactional.
Well, it's funny you say that too, because somewhere in the Cities Outnumbered book, I forget exactly where it said it, but it specifically says, I think when it's talking about the heat section, it brings it up, where it's like, the idea of the heat meter, which we'll get to, is that it's for operators that are particularly loud or like dangerous in some way, right? Like, the idea is they do the job messy. You don't just accrue heat automatically, because all of the megacorps know that operators, one, they know that operators are both a problem and an asset. Like, they understand that they are both sides of that coin. And two, they know, the mega corporations are aware that trying to track down every single operator team in the city and stamp them out would be basically impossible. So they're not going to spend the time to try and like shut them all down. So instead they use the operators as tools against each other, because if they can shut down their corporate opponents, that will get them a lot more mileage than trying to chase down losers in the street with pistols.
Right.
So, like, yes, it's very much on genre to acknowledge that the corporations, like, the operators are screwing the corporations and working for the corporations, and the corporations are screwing the operators and working with the operators, and everybody knows what we're doing, but there's also not really an alternative, so we're all just going to keep doing it.
One of my favorite parts about the new Armored Core game is when that shit happens, and, the handlers are just like, are you fucking kidding me right now, my guy? Really?
Yeah.
Really?
You betrayed me that fast?
Yeah, you're like, sorry, bud. It was for a payday. And they're like, no, I know, but fuck you for that. You're like,
yeah.
You still need that job getting done? And they're like, yes, we do.
Unfortunately.
Are you offering your services? Like, yeah.
Like, yes, sir.
All right, fine. Here's the contract.
Yeah. All right, here's the money. Shut the fuck up. So step one in defining your megacorpo that you're gonna take a job from and then steal from the next day.
Wait, real quick. I'm sorry. I just thought of the Randy Felt face. Is it still available?
Is it still available? Yes. So you start by determining the main focus of business and influence that the corporation has. What's their deal? Are they Lockheed Martin? Do they make weapons? Or are they Walmart? Do they make shitty shirts?
Hey, look, I hate Walmart, but them shirts are good. I'll give them that.
I don't think I'm gonna give them that, actually.
Okay, maybe not their shirts, but their cargo pants. Fuck, I wear those pretty much every day. $20, best pants I ever bought.
Fair enough. I mean, they don't even make them. They're just a seller.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's a sweatshop somewhere in Southeast Asia. But, like, you know what I mean.
Yeah. Then you want to come up with the style of your corporation. Like, what's their vibe? What are they... Are they ruthless? Are they bureaucratic? Are they a cult? Are they hateful? Are they haughty? Haughty? What's their stat? As you might imagine, we have a table to roll on both of these things.
Oh God, can you imagine you're going after you're the corpo is Chick-fil-A and you're like, guys, come on, they can't be that bad, and you find out they're just like ragingly homophobic like Chick-fil-A. And you're like, suddenly I feel a lot less bad. Rack's gun.
Yeah, actually, fuck it, rob him. Then, of course, you want to determine what the corporation's strength is, which is to say, like, how are they in business? What makes them, what are they good at? All of these elements to the corporations, by the way, have accompanying tables. Then you want to figure out a big event that recently happened to the corporation that is influencing how they're currently behaving, which is like, actually, let me just look at the events table. It has serious problems with the local government, or a product recently backfired direly. Well, that's a good one. I immediately just imagine like someone putting the skill chips in, and they like fry their brain stems or some shit. Oh
God, yeah.
Yeah, that's a classic. They were driven out of the market recently. A big major event that happened to the corporation to like fuck things up, or maybe it's going well, depending. The CEO died and was forced out. Then you want to determine what the corporation's goal is. Like, what are they trying to accomplish right now? This one is especially important because goals are also a mechanic that is gonna come into how you design missions, because this game doesn't have a faction turn. So goals and what are called schemes are gonna be your like replacement mechanic for the faction turn. We'll get into that in a little bit. And then lastly, you gotta name your corporation. There's a fun table to roll on where it's name element and then corp element. So it's like, one on the left side, it'll say like family name, and the right side, it'll say like Incorporated Industries, LLC, Products, Sciences. And then it'll be like on the left, nation name, natural disaster, number, political group. So you roll on that and smush them together. Great idea for a name generator, I feel, just because rather than just giving a list of names, it's like prompts to be like religious term, universal. Okay. Christian Universal, the corporation, or Sage Universal, maybe.
You can do a lot. Like, I always like when I'm naming things, I like to give them little cheeky references to like what's actually going on. So you can, do like, Crowley Incorporated, and you're like, oh, this is a cult. This is a cult, isn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, it's like, oh, well, they do practice illusion. What's it called? Philema. What's it called? God damn. All right.
What the fuck is Philema?
Philema. That's the actual cult that Aleister Crowley created.
Oh.
It's literally just hedonism with extra steps. It's literally its actual motto. I'm pretty sure Miura stole this from Berserk, for Berserk, because the actual tenet of Philema was do what thou wilt.
I see. Well, yeah, I mean, Crowley was a chaos magician too, so
Yeah.
There's a lot of baggage on that, man.
Did you know that he apologized for all the cult shit and like at the end of his life?
No.
He was like, yeah, maybe I fucked up. I feel a little bad, actually.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. After your corpos, you need your gangers. Honestly, creating the gang section is almost identical to creating a corporation, which I thought was kind of funny. I have a feeling that was probably on purpose.
Right, yeah, well, because you're just creating two sides of the same coin. The only difference is that is the scale at which they operate.
Yes, although arguably a scale could potentially be on a corporation gang if they're big enough anyway. Like there's a couple, or a corporation level, I meant to say. Gang could be on a corporation level. Like there's a couple gangs in Shadowrun that are like basically worldwide famous. Like they're basically a corporation at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So the mob, right? Like the mob was a business as much as it was organized crime.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So first you want to figure out the gang's main method of income, which is to say, what business do they do? What kind of crime are they up to? You know, assassination, blackmail, cyber trade, drugs, extortion, fraud, hacking, fun shit. Then you want to decide what kind of style the gang has, again, like the corporation. And then you want to pick what is their strength, which determines, how has this gang actually been successful and been able to stick around and exist. Then you want to pick a major event that happened to them, again, just like the Megacorp. And then also like the Megacorp, what kind of goal are they currently working towards? And then name them. So yeah, it's the same steps. And yes, I think that was maybe a little bit of a political commentary by Kevin Crawford there a little bit. Yeah, making them identical. Then there is a creating NPCs section, which follows a very similar flow as the previous two sections. But because it's just basic NPC creation, I'm just going to kind of skip over this bit. Like there's not much to say. It's the same idea as the corpos and the gangs where you go through each section, roll on the table, put them together.
I mean, as far as I could tell, and to be fair, I didn't look at it super closely, but it seems like mechanically it's just the exact same as the other games in terms of NPC generation.
It is basically, yes. Yeah.
Like I don't notice any big shifts to their sheet or anything like that.
Yeah. Oh, well, you're talking about stat blocks. I'm talking about just like generating their like name and their look and all that stuff.
Oh, yes. Then yeah.
Like the character more so.
Yeah.
But either way, yeah, it is still very similar. Then we got creating and running missions. So this particular chapter, you start with what a mission is in this game, in case you're just not totally clear. I mean, nothing out of the norm or weird here. A mission is basically an adventure / job that the operators have chosen to take on for some, for some reason, goal that is in their interest. It does recommend that you always design your missions in such a fashion that the operators, like your players, would actually want to do and would reasonably jobs they would take. So for example, if you design a mission that requires a hacker character and none of your operators are none of your players made a hacker operator, then don't give them hacker jobs, right? Like make sure the jobs actually pertain to their strength because from a gameplay standpoint, obviously that's more fun. And from an in-universe standpoint, a fixer is not going to go to a gang of operators that can't do the job he wants.
Right, yeah. Right? It's like, we're master thieves. All right, so I need you to blow up a bridge.
Yeah, you're like, that's not our thing.
Yeah. This is also known as Isaiah's Blades in the Dark dilemma.
A little bit. That wasn't, you always make that sound way worse than it was, though.
No, it wasn't as bad. There was like a couple weeks where I was like, I genuinely do not know what I'm doing right now. But no, I mean, we figured it out. We managed. Look, here's the thing. We were just unstealthy enough to where violence became necessary every mission. Yes. So I was fairly happy.
Violence was needed.
God, you remember that one time Sam rolled 3 1s despite it being his best stat in stealth? And we were just like, Sam, yes. How did this happen? What god did you anger?
Bro fucked up so hard, traumatized out, tapped out. Like, yeah, no, I definitely remember.
We called those massive L's, dog.
And massive. So here's your basic prep sequence in terms of designing a mission. So first, you want to have 5 schemes going on. Now, like I said, schemes are kind of what replaces your faction turn in this game. We'll get to that after this. So you want to have 5 schemes. Then you want to create a mission hook related to each of the schemes. This will make more sense in a minute. Third, for session 1, you want to try and make a very simple 1-session introductory mission that you will present the 5 scheme mission hooks at the end of. Again, you want to try to keep it to 1 session, but, good luck. Then we have 4th is just let the players, choose a mission. Step number 5, whatever mission they choose, downtime, you prep that mission. Step 6, pick at least one of the mission hooks that they didn't choose and drop it, get rid of it. Either it got completed by another NPC operator team, or it's just not relevant, or something happened. Kick out one of the mission hooks. Then, 7th step, after you've gotten rid of one of the mission hooks, replace that mission hook with a new one. Then 8th, run the current mission that the players wanted to do. Present the mission hooks once again for the next session. Step number 9, let the PCs select the mission hooks. Select the next mission again. Go back to step 5 and repeat. Again, real simple bulleted list, gets the point across. There is further breakdowns for each of the steps if you get confused or whatever, but yeah. Any particular question or issue with the list there?
No.
The listicle? Okay. So what the fuck are the schemes? So he made the decision to take out the faction turn from this game. I initially was a little bit against that idea. I felt like, well, I think faction turns actually could make a lot of sense in the Cyberpunk game. But after reading the bit about schemes, this does I kind of get what he was getting at. Faction turns, like factions were perhaps too much. Whereas the schemes thing, I think, can work, especially because it can operate on multiple different levels of like influence, right? You can have little tiny local gangs doing a scheme, and you can have the giant megacorpos doing a scheme. It can scale pretty easily.
Right, and they'll both feel valid.
Yeah, they'll both feel valid, and also the scheme system is like, it's pretty. It's easier to use than the faction turn system. And I do love the faction turn system, as I've said many times, but it does take a little getting used to. It's a little complicated. The first time you go through it, your brain is like, whoo, that's a lot of numbers and shit, Mm-hmm. So I warmed up to the schemes thing. So schemes are basically your background mechanism for tracking what your various factions are trying to accomplish. So, the movement of your schemes, like whether they're doing well or doing poorly. I also think it's funny that they're called schemes, just like as a name. Right. Because he's scheming.
It's very evocative. It's like, all right, what are these people scheming?
Yeah, they're scheming.
Like, when you say what are the factions doing, that doesn't necessarily mean that there's any ill intent, but no one is the good guy in Cyberpunk. So they are literally scheming.
They're all scheming. Yeah. So, the movement of the schemes is measured by progress points, which can basically move up and down based on operators doing missions. Could be, obviously, mainly your player character operators, but it also can be NPC operators can also fuck with schemes, because the game does talk about having background operator teams doing shit and influencing things. The progress count ranges from 10. A small local scheme only requires 10 points of progress, and then like a big regional wide scheme requires 50 points of progress. And you're only gonna get between 1 and 5 points of the scheme per. There isn't like I was gonna say per turn. There isn't really a turn so much, but like after, basically the turns in this game is when the players do a mission is kind of like your faction turn counter.
Right. So it's a little in between jobs is essentially what they're saying.
In between jobs, although it doesn't have to be in between jobs, right? Like it can. You can shift around. It's a little less. It's less strict than the faction turns were, which can be good or bad depending on what you want. But the idea is that you have, milestones that they accrue progress points and work up towards milestones. The game also points out you should always follow the fiction in terms of what the operators are doing. So if the operators do a really big mission that would potentially bring an entire scheme down in one fell swoop, you should let them do that. Like if they do a crazy mission where they blow up the headquarters, Johnny Silverhand blowing up the
the Battle of Arasaka Tower, yeah.
Yeah, if they blow up Arasaka Tower, that's probably going to shut down Arasaka's entire scheme in the region, or at least, in the city. That's a valid thing. Let the players do that. So don't be 100% beholden to the point system necessarily. Like, do let them do crazy shit like that. When you do the schemes, they basically, or when you create the schemes, they operate on 3 different levels, which is to say, I said 4 different levels, really. There's a petty local scheme, district-wide schemes, city-wide schemes, and then regional. Regional just means really big. It could be a country, or it could be potentially world-affecting, a world-affecting scheme. It depends on what they're doing. If Arasaka releases their new product that is wrist-mounted nuclear bombs, that's probably going to affect the whole world. Yeah. So it depends.
I have a tangent. I'm actually going to hold it on to the very end because it's very funny and has to do with Cyberpunk. I'm going to hold it.
I mean, is there some reason that you're holding on to it?
Because it's there's no point in like tangenting as I'm trying to stay on task. I'm just letting you know there is a tangent, and there's a tangent in the works.
It's locked and loaded in the chamber.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at the start of so you have the varying levels of scheme. The game recommends at the beginning of your campaign, at the beginning of the campaign, focus only on district level schemes. Don't, you can, but the game recommends not having the players fight, a regional worldwide megacorp right from the jump. That's, a little crazy. If you have some sort of wacky woohoo pizza man plan for why that might be fun, you can, but it recommends against it. Sorry, I was just reading something. What were we saying about? Yeah. Also, keep in mind that when the players do missions, their actions are the ones nudging the schemes around themselves. So, depending on what they do, they can nudge it up and down a lot or a little. And a scheme can go negative, which is interesting. It can drop below 1. It says schemes can actually be brought down below 1 progress point by mission results, even reaching negative numbers to represent a scheme that's so far behind that it needs help to even get to the starting line. If the situation is really bleak, the GM might decide the organization gives up on it as a bad job and starts a new scheme with a different end.
Well, I kind of like that though, because that means you can do a lot of really fun interplay by like, if input generic electric vehicle company here, and you fuck their shit up so bad that they're like, well, that rollout of input stupid truck name here.
Uh-huh.
And then they go, all right, well, we're just not doing that anymore.
Yeah, fuck it. We just give up. Yeah, you done beat our ass too hard. You burned down too many dealerships.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also like that it can go. I think it's funny that it can go negative because that means that you could fuck up, generic EV company.
Right.
And then generic EV company could be like, hey, we need you to do a job for us to get us some money to steal from one of our enemy corporations. Could you do that for us? And you're like, didn't we just burn down all your dealerships? Yeah, we need help now.
You did, and we are ridiculously angry.
Yes.
But we desire money more than anything else.
Yes, we need assistance.
At least you're honest.
Yep. So, you basically have, when you're creating the schemes, there's like there's little templates that guide you on the steps. So for a district scheme, 1 progress point is the start of the scheme, and then 5 points is a milestone, 10 points is a milestone, 15 is a milestone, 20 is the goal. If you go for a citywide scheme, it goes, it starts at 1, 5 is a milestone, 10 is a milestone, 15 is what it calls an instrumental goal, and then you have 2 more milestones, and then the final goal. So it just kind of breaks it down on how you might want to pace out. Basically, how are you going to pace it out fictionally? Like, okay, this company just hit 15 on this particular scheme. I'm going to let the players know that they hit like a really important goal. So the first prototype of said generic truck with EV company has just rolled out, for example. I don't know who we could mean, but, insert whoever you might think of.
There might be an emerald mine somewhere in there that that person's family owns, but like it's fine.
Yes. Also, their logo's it's a muskrat for some reason. I don't know what that's all about though. Anyway,
hideous creature.
I actually think muskrats are kind of cute.
I wasn't talking about the muskrats.
Okay, fair enough. Got it. Fuck, I keep losing where I'm at in my notes.
I mean, look, we are we've let chaos reign most of this episode.
When you create your scheme, you want to decide what their ultimate goal is from the start. This is kind of similar to what you would do with faction turns, where you would decide like what is their primary faction goal thing they want to do, and then work backwards through the scheme to decide how they're going to achieve it and what the milestones of the scheme are going to be based on what the ultimate goal of the scheme is going to be. Which is, again, pretty not intuitive, pretty like you could come up with that idea on your own. But the game is spelling it out very clearly for you.
I would say, yeah, I'd say it's intuitive. I think that's
yeah, intuitive wasn't the word I wanted though. I wanted to say self-explanatory, but like not self-explanatory, like pretty
evocative.
Self-evident, maybe self-evident was the word I wanted. Maybe that's the phrase. I don't know. Anyway, it's an intuitive idea, but the game is just spelling it out very clearly. And then of course you have a big table of goals that you can roll on or choose from. Naturally.
We really weren't joking. If you try to take a shot, you will die.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, table and listicles. Yeah. There's also a big several tables of milestones that you can roll on. So NPC related milestones, resource related milestones, business related milestones, and those are the milestones that you slot into that scheme counter when they get to the various progress points. So, more tables to roll on.
Yeah.
Just in case you were feeling like there wasn't enough tables.
Josh, I was thinking there wasn't enough tables.
I don't believe you. Then we get the NPC operators, NPC operator teams, This is like a brief little 2-page thing, but basically the idea is he gives you an order of operations to come up with an operator team, some tables to roll on for how this team works, like what they, what kind of like weapons or tactics do they employ, what do they look like, or what's their vibe, I should say. Like there's a big D20 table, and one is a combatant with, and then it's the table, and it's like lethal fist, a sniper's eye, terrible scars, a secret death witch, and it says a hacker with, and then you get another table to roll on, and then a tech with, a face with. And then there's the who and is currently. Basically, you can roll on these tables to roll up a sentence for each operator. So, a combatant with lethal fists who is a secret corporate mole and is currently trying to shake off a drug addiction. So you roll on those 3 tables and smash it all together and you get an operator. You do that a couple of times, you get your operator team. Anytime, and then you want to choose stat blocks for the operators that relate to, what you rolled and what makes sense in your head. Give them names, obviously. And then basically, the immediate chapter after is NPC scheme results. So you have your operators or your NPC operator teams. If you want to keep the results of missions, like the mission, so the players didn't take mission A, they took mission C. So you're like, all right, what's going to happen with mission A? And, an NPC operator team is going to go after mission A. If you want to throw in an element of randomness, like you don't want to make a decision yourself, you want to see what happens, you can roll on a 2d6 table with a bunch of modifiers to accompany said table. And, you can see if they succeed or not. And then if they fail, you have a table of unfortunate consequences and a table of why did they fail? So for example, unfortunate consequences, a team member suffered a major injury and they failed because they got cocky and went into the situation with less force or care than was wise. So basically it lets you have other operator teams moving and shaking and doing shit and, causing chaos, because again, that is a big element of Cyberpunk, other runners doing shit.
I think it's really good to have for tabletop in general. Like having rivals is fun.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Or they could be teammates too, right? Like that's another thing.
True.
They could be enemies. They could be somebody you work with. They could be like you need to hire their hacker to help you with something. Like, there's a lot of good reasons to come up with a bunch of operators in the background. And then you can give them cool names like Scorpion Viper Strike.
That is a wild name.
Or Katana Blade Swing Squad.
I don't even. I would bully the shit out of any gang who rolled up on me.
Katana Blade Swing Squad.
I'm like, oh yeah,
Oh yeah, you're scary.
How tight were your jeans when you came up with that one, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. And then of course you would have the most fearsome operator team of all, the Honey Badgers.
Nah, see, look, no. Here's the thing. That would be some shit. You're like, oh yeah. All right, the Honey Badgers. Oh, what's their whole thing? Oh, well, they don't leave anyone alive.
Yeah.
What?
No one survives. No one in the entire building.
No, they like stream it too. Like it's a whole thing. They try to make it kind of like an esport. The only reason why we know is because they stream. And no one walks out. They
keep score actually of who killed the most people, including the hacker. They have the hacker in on it too.
Yeah. Did you ever see some dude's neural implant boil his brain? I have. Yeah. It's wild.
They love buildings with automated turrets. That's the hacker's favorite. Anyway, the Honey Badgers. Then we get into how to create a mission, which, as you might imagine, is kind of important.
Naturally.
I want to read this first paragraph verbatim on this page because I thought it was really funny that Kevin Crawford took a few digs at some other games.
Oh.
Many RPG source books go to great lengths to present a GM with countless NPCs, organizations, background conflicts, MacGuffins, and other grist for their creative mill. What they often neglect to provide, however, is a step-by-step procedure with which a GM can actually turn that material into a playable night's gaming. This section will give you the necessary tools with which you can hammer your raw inspiration into something you and your friends can enjoy at the table.
Wow, just attack wizards like that, huh? Just
a soft dig.
Just do it to him like that? All right, Mr. Crawford, I was unaware of your game.
Yeah, I just thought that was funny. I was like, all right, dude, damn. So the game breaks up mission design into 3 stages, and then the 3 stages have their own, like, subcategories, basically. So stage 1 is a basic outline and facts of the job, so you can pitch it to your players. This is another place where the game is very firm about not letting your players leave before knowing what the next plan is so you can prep. This is another place. It reiterates that in a bunch of places. Stage 2 is making the meat and potatoes after the players have confirmed what their plans for the next mission is. And then stage 3 is the cleanup in the aftermath. You determine the heat generated, what schemes moved forward, yeah, as well as what happened to NPCs because of the job. So in stage 1, you want to start by rolling 2 mission tags from the table to add in, things like antagonists or patrons or complications, shit like that. Then you roll up what the type of mission actually is, what the patron needs done. So, this is a stealth mission. This is a violence mission. This is like a hack job, this is a stealth mission. Then obviously you need to determine the payout of the mission. Also with tables provided, of course. Of course. I probably shouldn't stop even mentioning the tables. You can just assume that if the game needs you to generate something, it also probably gave you an accompanying table.
It gave you several, in fact.
More than one sometimes. Lastly, summarize the info into a hook that the operators will actually receive, right? So come up with all the bits and bobs, and then what does Mr. Johnson actually tell them for the gig? What does he explain to them? So then we have stage 2 of creating the mission itself. First, obviously, you need important NPCs, the characters that are making things happen. The game recommends a thing that I also always recommend, which is reuse NPCs when it makes sense and don't make new ones from whole cloth every time. Basically it says reoccurring encounters with the same faces helps give a sense of a place to your gaming and can inspire personal animosities or friendlier ties with PCs. A big fucking agree. Like, yeah.
I
say this.
I'm gonna go sit in my hidey hole real quick.
I know you need to get into this habit. I say this all the time, right? If the players are like, hey, all right, we need, we just did a mission to help out the blacksmith, and then their next mission, it's like, man, we need to find somebody who knows where these ancient ruins are. The blacksmith knows where the ancient ruins are. Make it the same person. Don't make a new NPC. Same person. If it makes sense, obviously. Like, don't do it every time to the point where, like, the blacksmith also knows the president. That might not make sense. But yes, reuse NPCs. It's super fucking helpful.
Cough.
Obviously, yeah, I know. One of these days you'll get it.
In my defense, the Lancer game made it real hard. It's space.
You can still make it work. Then, of course, once you have those NPCs, you need to give them stats so your operators can shoot at them. Because Cyberpunk. Then you want to make a list of important locations, places of importance, right? I said list. The game said inventory, the places of importance. You know, if they need to go to if they're going into a corporate facility, detail the facility. If they're meeting somebody in a bar, detail the bar. Like, you know, that kind of gig, like important points of interest. Then you need your battle maps. The way the game describes it is map the tactically important places. If the PCs are going to be infiltrating a site, use the guide for creating infiltration missions. If you expect them to get into a firefight in a location, sketch a floor plan or at least have some kind of idea of how the area is laid out. But yeah, which is another way to say make battle maps, right? In the D&D, in our common D&D parlance, make battle maps. Again, so your operators can shoot at things or stab things, I suppose, you know. I shouldn't be weaponist.
Equal opportunity in these parts. Yeah.
Yeah, equal opportunity. Bludgeon, stab, shoot, you know, whatever you like. And then the game says do a mental walkthrough. Basically it's just saying know your players better than the author does, and you likely have a general idea of how they're apt to approach the mission. Start from the hook, walk through the events and challenges of the mission, make sure it makes sense. And if you're certain your group is going to take a particular course of action, plan out for it. Basically, you know your players, so figure out what your players are probably going to do. Think about it. And then once that, you know, you've gone through the mission, cleanup. So all that's said and done, the cleanup stage. First, you want to determine if they got a little too rowdy during the mission and if they added to their heat score or not. If they get their heat score too high, you know, the SWAT teams might start kicking their doors in on a regular basis, and you got to deal with that. Then you want to decide what to do with the unchosen mission hooks. So whatever mission hooks the players didn't take, decide what you want to do with them, which ones you want to get rid of, which ones you want to keep. If you want to roll to see if another operator team did it or didn't do it, you know, that kind of shit. Then obviously you're also going to need to make new mission hooks because A, you just removed a couple, and B, they just completed one. So you're gonna have to make some new ones. And then progress the world, which is to say show the consequences of what the PCs did, give them a news broadcast, social media post, street rumor, something like that to let them know that they're making shit happen. Like the missions they are doing are having repercussions. Shit is going on. Again, Stars Without Number and Worlds Without Number basically said the same thing. Like when the faction turn happens, tell the players what was going on, why the faction turn did X, Y, or Z, or what it caused, or so on and so forth. And of course, then after it describes you how to make all the missions, you get several pages of mission tags. So many tags. Mucho tagarinos.
I was about to say, please regale me how you're going to hit him with this.
No, I mean, I'm not gonna read them all if that's true.
No, just how you were gonna say it in Spanish when you said mucho. I was like, please.
Mucho tagaritos. That's how you say it, right?
You know, I can't say that it is.
No?
No.
You sure?
I'm damn near positive.
Damn.
With my very limited knowledge of Spanish, pretty sure.
Fair. All right. And then there's also a page of mission types. So you can roll on the type of mission: defense, espionage, murder, rescue, retrieval. And then once you roll, now we got tables within tables, right? So you roll on the table for the mission type. And then once you roll on the table for the mission type, you go to the page that describes the mission type. And then there's more tables to break down what's going on with this specific mission. So like if you roll defense and then you roll on the defense mission, and you go to the page, and then you have tables for why can't they do it themselves? What kind of patron put them up to the job? How afraid is the target? What needs to be defended? Twist in the situation. So you got tables within tables.
I just want you to know, the cadence in which you described that was the Horus Heresy is.
Yes. Correct. And then now I think this is probably something that a lot of people will like, but I'm not going to go into it right now. Or I'm not going to go into it, period, because it's dense, it's a lot, and it's really into the weeds. But there is 3 whole pages dedicated to infiltration missions / intrusion missions because they are such a staple of the genre. It literally says at the very top of the chapter, the stealthy infiltration of a hostile corporate facility is a mainstay of the cyberpunk genre. It can be a little tricky to build out a proper intrusion mission, however, so the guidelines of this section can help you to streamline the process. It is 3 pages dedicated to how to do the whole breaking into the building and trying not to raise the alarm and all that yada yada, right? I'm going to skip over this section because, again, it's really in the weeds. It's like it gets really detailed. But I will tell you, you can be rest assured, Mr. Kevin Crawford once again has your back. It's very thorough and has all of the elements you need to create said intrusion mission. And then there's also the playing the mission part, which is basically guides you through how to literally run the mission. So it says like the setup, give them a mission brief, give them an obvious first step. It says, how to handle negotiating with NPCs on a mission, like reaction rolls. Let the PCs make their ask. Let the PCs give a reason. Set a difficulty. Blah blah blah. Then like generating favors from contacts, moving around the city, keeping track of time. Blah blah, like all that shit. And then there is a page called The Run, which is really similar to the dungeon rules from Worlds Without Number, where you would track how long the various actions the player characters were doing. So, for example, pick a lock at normal speed is 1 minute. Search a desk costs a minute. Search an office room costs 5 minutes. And then you compare that list of time to alarms or encounter checks or reactions on the, from the area itself, like security or whatever, all that shit. Again, it works. It's very similar to the dungeon rules that Worlds Without Number had. All good stuff. It's just really in the weeds, so I'm skipping over it for the sake of, you don't need me to tell you how long every little 5 minute this and that takes. But yes, if you're worried about the infiltration bit, the breaking and entering aspect, the game's got you covered, dog. Which is good, because I do think that is a place where cyberpunk games often, despite the genre, again, as this game says, being really heavily centered around that, doesn't a lot of games don't give you a lot of good advice on how to do it.
Yeah, the actual how is typically quite skinned.
It's sparse often, because essentially the infiltration in the cyberpunk game is the same as running the dungeon in the D&D game, and the D&D games give you all sorts of information about how to run the dungeon often. So it's kind of weird that a lot of the cyberpunk games don't seem to do the same for the breaking and entering. Even though from a gameplay standpoint, it's like kind of the same idea. I don't know. Just things, just funny game design things, I guess.
Just stuff and things.
And then we have the rewards page. So rewards and experience. Basically the payout, this is super easy. The payout is determined by the team's level. So, if they're all level 3, they get a level 3 worth of payout, team level 3 worth of payout, which is $30,000. Which might sound like a lot, but shit's expensive in this game.
It's expensive in all those games.
Not necessarily. Depends on what you're getting. Listen, if you want to be an operator with a cool robot arm and a sick gun, it's going to cost you some money.
Damn, you're going to tell me I got to pay for my cool Malorian arms pistol? Whack.
Unfortunately. And then there's some modifiers to go with the payout table that can adjust. So, for example, if the client is a subsidiary of a megacorp, they get a 1.5 times modifier for the job because the the provider's got a little extra cash. Or if the client is genuinely desperate, they get a 2x modifier. It's generally assumed that fixers will give operators jobs that they think they can actually succeed. So that is why, from a fictional and mechanical standpoint, that is why the payout section is based on team level. Sorry, my phone went off and completely cracked my train of thought.
You're good.
And then you have an additional loot table, which will, because obviously there's the payout for the job, but there's also the stuff you can steal while you're doing the job. So there's a little additional loot table that you can roll on to give you a percentage of like how much extra loot could the players potentially find on the job. And that's pretty much it for money. They got the payout of the job and what can they steal. Like you don't need a whole lot else. This isn't, again, not a fantasy game, for example, so you don't need to worry about like magic items or weird MacGuffins or some shit. They're basically just gonna steal and get paid.
Mm-hmm.
Because Cyberpunk, in some ways, running a Cyberpunk game is, I think, more difficult, but in some ways it is a little bit easier.
No, right. This is what I was talking about, right? Where it's like, I don't have to worry about how characters are going to get information. They have the internet.
Right, exactly.
Or some sort of like approximate, or cell phones or whatever.
Yeah. I don't need to worry about giving the players cool magic items. If I give them money, they can buy their own cyberware and cool guns and shit.
Honestly, that's the nicest thing. That's one of the things I love about Lancer. Is I give them resources because the game tells you to. But a lot of the time, it's like, I got to think about what they want, what they need. I have to do it so much less when I go, here's a bunch of money.
Yes, sir.
Very nice.
Makes life a little easier.
It really do.
Then we have the experience point system of the game. So the other without numbers games give you like multiple options. This one only presents you one primary option with a optional different experience rule. But the primary one gives you basically the method is to reward basic mission completion, gets you 3 XP for a job well done. This amount can shift up and down based on circumstances. If it's a long or particularly difficult mission, the amount can shift up that the players earn. Or if it's an easy mission, or if they fail, the amount of XP they earn will shift down. Even if operators completely screw the pooch and just fuck it completely, they still get 1 pity XP for their lesson learned and their asses beat.
Gotta love that. I love hazard pay.
So, yeah. Even if they completely screw it, they still get 1. And then the optional rule is you tie level up to cash accrued, so how much money they get, where basically the credits they earn are experience with set thresholds. So from level 1 to 2, you have to earn $5,000 or 5,000 credits. I don't remember what they call the money. Then from level 2 to 3, you have to get 30,000. But this is technically an optional rule and seems a little, like unnecessary personally. Like it's a little more noodly and it doesn't seem worth it to me personally. Not for this particular game anyway. Other games I could see it. And then we have one little extra new GM mechanic, which is heat. And heat is just a score. It is measured from 0 to 10. It is tracked for the whole group of operators, not for any individual player and it's not based on individual enemies. So it's not like I have 5 heat with Renraku Corporation. It's like we have 5 heat, period. Which means like heat is a measure of how much everyone is aware of what the PCs are doing, like what they're up to.
Right, it's literally what they did with Blades. Although, was Blades limited to just the enforcers, or no? Right,
no.
It was just everybody knew that you were packing.
It was kind of just everybody. Yeah, same idea. I think you could no, because Blades had faction favorability and heat.
Right.
So it was kind of operating on both paradigms. This game just worries about heat. It doesn't necessarily say you have to do it like by faction. I suppose you could if you wanted to get a little more noodly, like if the player's pissed off a particular faction like especially bad. Like these motherfuckers just keep. You know?
No, so that you could do. Yeah, I mean, I think the whole it's just a business thing does go out the window when you keep fucking them over.
Right. That's what I mean. Like if your players push it, then I could see an argument for you splitting off a separate heat meter. But broadly speaking, the heat is intended to just apply to the group. And yeah, basically there's a table of heat gains and it's just what did you do and then how much heat does it add? So for example, if on the job you use frag grenades or small lethal explosives, you gain +1 heat for, going loud. And if you kill a Corpo CEO, you get +10 heat. It's just a simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, don't do that. A little bit risky.
Oh, I mean, but those EV company CEOs aren't going to get themselves.
I know. It's true. Those health insurance CEOs too,
Oh, yeah. I mean, they
got to fear the Mario Bros team.
Hey, and don't forget about the real estate CEOs.
Yeah. They got to fear their own corporate workers.
I swear to God, the new and improved, quote unquote, new and improved FBI is gonna be knocking on our door this week.
New and improved. That's a strong word.
I mean,
it's new, I guess.
Did you want me to say Gestapo 2.0? Because I could have.
Yeah, sure. You could call that. And then, so once you've accrued heat, you can shed your heat. Basically, there's just a table of various actions you can do, such as laying low, paying fines, or turning yourself in. And that will take your heat down.
Just like Blades.
Yeah. Nice, simple system. Like there's not too much to it, but it gets the job done, right? It's a notoriety tracker. You don't need it to be too crazy. And that's actually kind of where we're gonna stop, because the last two major chapters in the free edition, this is not the deluxe edition has more chapters after this, but the last two major chapters in the free edition of the game is Faces on the Street, which is basically your bestiary chapter, with your NPCs and your stat blocks and everything. And the only thing you really need to worry about extra with NPC stat blocks in cities is that the you're dealing with cyberpunk enemies, so they're gonna have cyberware and guns and shit, so you have to pay a little more attention to their equipment, which is something to keep in mind. What kind of equipment is this particular NPC using is something that you have to pay a little more attention to than you would in like Stars or Worlds. But other than that, the stat blocks are the same. He did add a thing called danger value, which is basically just CR. He added a CR scale to the game.
Oh, that's nice.
That's it. He kind of already had it in Worlds and Stars. It was just based on hit dice before, whereas with cities he broke it out into its own number. But it does the same basic idea as CR. And then the section after that is the city chapter, which is if you don't want to make your own setting, here is the setting that the book provides you. That's all that is. So basically I'm saying there's not much new in the last two chapters is the point I'm making.
Right.
The one other little tidbit that I did like is the where is it? Yes. At the very, very end, there's a chapter called Mixing Sin Nomine Games Together.
I did see that.
Yeah, it just gives you some rules on how to mix and match like the cost of things and throwing in mages from Worlds Without Number and dealing with trauma dice and how to slap those in the other games. It's just like how to mix and match the kits together, and then it gives you a table of all of the gear from the other two games and how to use them, how to use classes, because Cities doesn't have classes, it has the edges. So if you want to bring the classes in, how do you bring those? Just a chapter on all that, working all that shit together. It's not like 100% comprehensive, obviously, but you know, it gets you off the ground.
So maybe my how to run a Borderlands tabletop game dream is just to run Worlds and Cities at the same time.
No, I think your how to run Borderlands is gonna be to run Ashes and maybe one of the others.
Well, it's because you need the space travel thing, like that's a necessity in Borderlands.
Okay, so stars.
There is a cyberpunk aspect to Borderlands. So
sure, but Ashes Without Number also has rules for mutants and psychic powers and all that shit too.
True, I did forget about the siren.
Yeah, that's all in there. Ashes, it's funny because I was looking at Ashes Without Number a little while ago when it was still in beta before it fully came out. And I noticed as I'm looking at the game, I was like, this game is exactly what Isaiah was asking for when he ran Hellscapes.
You've told me when it comes to Ashes, yeah.
Yes, it has literally everything you wanted. Just thought that was really funny.
I'm almost scared to read it.
It might make you a little mad. It might make you be like, why couldn't it come out sooner?
Right. That's kind of my thing. And as I'm like, is this going to make me fucking mad?
You know, it might. It could happen.
Yeah. I wouldn't doubt it.
But yeah, that is Cities Without Number, the third entry in the Without Number games. This game, I think, shifted things up the most after like Stars to Worlds feel pretty like simpatico. Cities now from those two games feels like it pushes it further from those two games, mostly because of necessity for the, you know, Cyberpunk is very much its own beast. So from the design standpoint, I get it. And then funny enough, basically Worlds and Stars are similar to each other. And then Cities and Ashes are similar to each other. But then they all can work together, all four of them, but there's like a pairing thing that happened design-wise.
Right.
Which is not necessarily bad or good, I just was sort of an observation I've noticed. Do I ask what your tangent before was?
Oh, yes. Fun fact. Did you know Johnny Silverhand did not actually pull off the Arasaka job?
Yes, I remember you telling me this.
Okay, yes. It's him creating a fucking mental, like his engram creating like a mental fantasy because he was like, nah, I'm as cool as Morgan Blackhand.
Uh-huh.
He wasn't. And he was like, I pulled that job off. He didn't.
He did not.
He ran,
in fact, did not.
Distraction.
Yeah.
He was there, but he didn't carry the nuke. He wasn't with like Shaitan and them. He just they were like, you go off with B team and do your own thing, bud.
That's rough, bud. That's rough.
Look, I love that Johnny Silverhand, because of the game, has this like Omega legendary status, and he's just less cool Morgan Blackhand.
Uh-huh. Yeah. It is kind of funny.
It's very funny.
Alrighty. That has been us. Follow us on the social medias in the description if you so desire. And go shoot some corpos.
For legal reasons,
in-game.
This is a joke. Yes.
In-game.
Yes. For legal reasons, this is a joke.
Mostly.
Yeah, mostly.
Mostly. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Peace.